Hello everybody, my name is Zane Zinakami Blaylock, and this time I did not forget to turn off the air purifier, so there is no need to have background music play for the entire video. My humble friggin' apologies. Jeez. Anyways, in case you live under a rock or live a more healthy lifestyle in which you're not chronically online, you may not have noticed that there was a massive outage across the internet yesterday. And yesterday as in October 20th. Basically tied to Amazon's AWS infrastructure, basically a bug or an issue that root causes related to some database DNS stuff spiraled out and caused a bunch of various different problems for your apps, services, and generally internet utilization. Stay tuned. So it's actually not going to be that complicated of a video, just trying to explain whether or not you were curious to why certain websites went down, services went down. Nearly a handful of Amazon's own services from, that assistant whose name starts with an A and isn't Alex. Prime Video, Ring Doorbell, even certain services and platforms like Hulu and other things had problems yesterday. If you want to know more about the actual series of events for this outage, we'll have a link in the description below. But if you go to health.aws.amazon.com, there's a complete breakdown to the series of events going all the way back up to the problem being resolved on October 20th, 3:53 p.m. PDT. So basically it started October 19th and went into October 20th and was fixed on October 20th. So but yeah, we'll have this and you can basically go all the way through to figure out what went wrong. Essentially it was a DNS issue tied to DynamoDB. And you can see here the US East one is the region that it was targeting or affected by. They just had some DNS issues. Most likely someone fat-fingered a value or something switched or got plugged into the wrong thing and thus sent the wrong information to the wrong place and basically set off a chain reaction that essentially eventually caused an outage. If you actually go through and read this, and it breaks this down very, very nicely, and I will read this, sadly again today, no fun voice. Between 11:49 p.m. PDT on October 19th and 2:24 a.m. PDT on October 20th, AWS experienced increased error rates for AWS services in the US East 1 region, which also impacted Amazon.com and Amazon subsidiaries, as well as AWS support operations. By 12:26 a.m. PDT on October 20th, we determined that the event was a result of DNS resolution issues for the regional DynamoDB service endpoints and mitigated the issue by 2:24 a.m. PDT. After resolving the DynamoDB DNS issue, AWS services began recovering, but a small subset of internal subsystems continue to be impaired. To facilitate full recovery, we temporarily throttled some impaired operations such as the EC2 instant launches. And by 12:28 p.m. PDT, many of the AWS customers and AWS services were seeing significant recovery. We continued to reduce throttling of EC2 new instance launch operations while we worked to mitigate the remaining impact. By 3:01 p.m. PDT, all AWS services returned to normal operations. Customers should continue to refer to the AWS Health dashboard for the latest information over at health.aws.amazon.com/health/status. Okay. So the explanation there is not fully vetted or fully given in terms of what type of DNS issues, what exactly went wrong, and that is not accidental. That is for security purposes, for vague purposes. You don't want to give too much of the secret sauce for a platform that is heavily utilized by a lot of people and a lot of companies. Talking more about a potential problem could lead into hackers with ill intent to go in and try to exploit those same or similar weaknesses around a point that is sore for the platform. I mentioned this before in a previous episode of the podcast, Essences in After Dark, many years ago. Not many, a few. Geez. Sometimes we have infrastructure that is potentially owned by nearly or a handful of entities. One big proponent of this is Cloudflare. Cloudflare routes a crap ton of the internet. I don't have you know what, matter of fact, I'm gonna do some hard cold journalism. Not really journalism. I don't want to insult actual journalists. So apparently there's a website and a group called W3 Techs. You probably know about the W3 prefix to a lot of things, and there's some complicated history. Anyway, according to W3 Techs, they have some systems that goes in and search and basically utilizes reverse proxy services to determine what sites are leveraging Cloudflare's routing. For them, they say 81.1% of all the websites whose reverse proxy services that they, W3 Tech, knows of is utilizing Cloudflare, which is roughly about 20% of the entire internet. These numbers can kind of coalesce with Wikipedia's information, which is basically 19.3% of the entire internet. So if you want to be friendly and round up, let's see if we can find that source. Okay, so Wikipedia sources W3 Tech, and I just gave W3 Techs initially. So it's approximately 20% of the internet, which basically means if Cloudflare just goes completely dark, which it has done in the past, not on purpose, mind you, but if it goes dark or has an outage, then approximately 20% of the internet is going to be affected by it. Me and Lewis have talked previously about the importance of not having all of your eggs in one basket, and the same thing goes for this AWS outage. I want to make a quick note that outages are typically not the direct, like you hold someone to the pitchfork or the fire saying, you know, you caused this, you did wrong, you failed us. No, they happen. Mistakes happen, issues happen, things arise. A tree can fall and knock out a power line that shuts down an entire data center. These things happen. The way to mitigate that is to ensure that a developer, a company, a process, a platform, or etc. tries to have backup instances running in completely different regions. To go more into detail, the AWS outage only affected their US East 1 region, which is one of many regions, meaning that if a platform utilized the US East 1 region or environment and that went down, if they had an HA, high availability, it means they have something somewhere else, maybe like in the West, or maybe sometimes in different countries, or whatever their particular application calls for, so that when one goes out, a fallback can happen on the high available backup instance to kick up and run for it. Now, one issue can be if you put all of your eggs, again, in one particular basket, and let's say the entirety of Amazon as a whole goes out, it doesn't matter what other regions you have a high available instance running as a backup in, because that'll be out too. And this is why it's nice to spread, you know, maybe some toolage or usage into various different platforms and services. So you can have AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, DigitalOcean. I would say Linode, but Linode went the way of the dodo. I am so sad about that, actually. So in the future, if you're planning on diving into more of this type of information, or you're just curious as to how all this works, well, there you go. Welcome to the cloud infrastructure of the internet. I've been Zane Kami Blaylock. I'll see you all in the next video. But while you wait for that particular video, why not check out, wait, no, I gotta stop doing this. It'll be in the outro. Why not check out a video about how Microsoft is really irking my and many other people's nerves. So I'll see you in the next one, but until then, as always, take care. Live it up, live it up, live it up, live it up.